Well, that absolutely sucked. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. And for the first time in his basketball coaching career, Mike White's beating the Florida Gators. Final score 88-83. Florida Gators fall. And we'll get to the chat as always. We'll get to the chat later. I should introduce myself. I am Brandon Olsen. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI. Find me every day on Locked On Gators. And just know, if you're an Auburn fan here to troll, you still suck. I just want to throw that one out there. But this felt very on par with Florida. Slow first half was brutal. I mean, again, you can't keep giving up 50 points in the first half. It's great that you could score 48 in the second half, but you can't keep giving up 51 in the first half. That's just not stuff that you can do and win. That's just not stuff you can do and win. It's just not acceptable. Not going to be a thing there. I will say this because I'm sure the chat's going to mention it. The officiating was bad, right? I think everybody can acknowledge that, or at least everybody here can acknowledge that. Officiating was bad. However, I will say this as well. I don't care. I don't blame games on officiating because my thought process is always play well enough so that officiating doesn't matter. So I don't care about that. But one huge difference that you see with this game, free throws were atrocious once again. Florida just can't do it. 18 for 29 from the free throw stripe, 62%. That's not going to win you a game, especially when your opponent shot 81.5%. If you're going to shoot like that and they're going to shoot like that from the free throw line, you're going to lose. Georgia was shooting 70% from the field at halftime. You're not going to win basketball games if you play like that. 70% from the field. Those are wide open threes. Or wide open shots, we'll say. You can take a bunch of D1 basketball players, and if you leave them wide open, that's basically what they would shoot, right? Like they'd shoot very efficiently. 70% would be great, right? Florida, you just can't play like that. You just can't. 11 for 32 from three. Will Richard was the only guy that actually showed up to play this entire game. I get it. Walter Clayton Jr. had 18 points. Walter Clayton Jr. Finished strong, but you can't have games like we saw multiple Gators have today and think that you're going to beat a quad one team. Look, I get it. People are going to be upset about, Georgia being unranked or just straight up losing to Georgia. I absolutely agree with you. But this is, once again, Will Richard showed up. No one else did. For a lot of times we saw maybe it was Walter Clayton Jr. being the one that showed up and a bunch of people didn't. Maybe Elijah Martin showed up and a bunch of people didn't. But I think this was one of the more egregious instances where one guy shows up for the whole game and for the most of the game, no one else is there, right? When Florida had 48 points, Will Richard had 24 of them. And it's not like he was shooting a ton. He finished with 30 points on 17 shots. That's incredibly efficient. Okay. This was a game where Florida just did not shoot well, did not defend well. And if you don't shoot well, if you don't defend well, guess what? You're not going to win the game. You're not going to win the game. It's honestly as simple as that. you're not going to win the games playing the way that you played. Like there's just no other way to put it. Florida, like playing defense the way you did in the first half, just horrible. Never gonna win playing like that. Never gonna win playing like that. And I mean, you shot what, 27 for 66 from the field. So you made. I'm pulling up the effective field goal percentage here just because I want to make a point here. So you shot 16 there, or 16 made twos. Total of 66 free throw attempts. Florida's effective field goal percentage in this game is 49.24%. Okay? 49.24. We're going to remember that. And we're going to put in Georgia's numbers there. 49.24%. And Georgia shot 63.46% was their effective field goal percentage. And I bring that up to make the point that Todd Golden, again, big analytics guy. There's a big reason for that. The most important value in the 4 factors is that effective field goal percentage. And Florida lost it by what? 15%? You're not going to win games if your opponent is out shooting you by that much. Okay? Florida won the offensive rebounding battles. That's important. Florida won the turnover battle. That's important, especially because a lot of Florida's turnovers were steals. That's also very important there. But you're not going to win games if you're shooting the way Florida shot and defending the way the Florida defended, right? Getting to the free throw line, also important for the 4 factors that Todd Golden will live by. You lost there as well. Like it's just, I know that people hate analytics because it leads to too many threes being made or attempted and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, around the rim twos, catch and shoot threes. And for most of the game, Georgia shot like that. And for most of the game, Florida left them open to do that. Like, it's just, you can't play basketball the way that the Florida Gators played tonight and win. This is one of those games where we look at them and we say, what the hell? Like, we all can watch this team and see the immense level of talent on this roster. But they have games like this. They have games like this that genuinely make you doubt how deep of a run they're going to make in March Madness. Because it's not, when they play this elite team. It's not when they play an elite defense. It's not because another team's being physical. It's not because of this or because of that. This is just a hot and cold team. And like the other Locked On SEC hosts, they'll take jabs at me or whatever because I will call Florida a very hot and cold team. And, they'll go, like, you're 18-3. How is it hot and cold? So hot and cold. But then you watch the game and you watch the team and they're so hot and cold about things. And it's not just, this game they're good, this game they're bad. No, it's they played like crap randomly. Thomas Hawk shot 3 for 11. That was the most uncharacteristic thing we've seen from him in a long time. Ruben Chinilu fouled out on the stupidest foul, as in bad call. I will say that. Just body up and dude bumps into him, falls down, and that was ridiculous. Will Richard played great, right? Played great basketball. Was aggressive defensively, made plays, was attacking the board, scoring. I mean, again, 30 points on 17 shot attempts is nuts. Walter Clayton Jr., 5 for 13 shooting. Was ghost for most of this time. And I get it. He made big shots down the stretch. That's important. That was valuable. He helped you close the gap and take the lead there for a second. But think about it this way, the same way people complain about refs. If you shot halfway decent for most of the game, or even if you shot halfway decent in the first half, you're never in a position where you're down 26 and trying to come back. It's crazy. Alex Condon shot 1 for 7, 0 for 3 from 3. And the dude just wasn't even attempting threes for the first, 12 minutes of the game. They were kind of just leaving him and he wasn't even attempting threes. And I will say another thing here that frustrates the hell out of me, but I got to say it. Ruben Chinilu and Micah Hanlogton, while I love them, while I think they're great offensive rebounders and I think that they can contribute defensively and I think they can do stuff for you offensively, their lack of ability to shoot from pretty much anywhere outside of the restricted area makes the defense so much easier for other teams. Because you'll see Micah Hanlogton will catch the ball top key and they'll leave him open. And Ruben Chinilu will catch the ball top of the key and they'll leave him open. And Alex Condon, when he's for some reason not willing to shoot the ball, he'll catch it top key like he did a bunch against Georgia and they'll leave him open. And even when he did shoot, it was like, what? Like, why are you hesitating? You're wide open. I'm not saying you're an amazing three-point shooter, but if you're wide open, you've got to at least have the threat there, especially when Walter Clayton Jr. is not getting a whistle, because he wasn't getting a whistle that first half at all. He just wasn't getting a whistle. I'm not complaining about it. I'm more so complaining that he just kept trying. He wasn't getting the whistle, and he's like, I'm just going to keep going in, see what happens. Like, stuff like that just can't happen. Like, Alex Condon playing at all in that game, great. But 1 for 7, not going to help you, right? Urban Klavzar needs to play more. I don't know what his official minutes are. Actually, let me see if I can pull up his official minutes for the game. Urban Klavzar played 8 minutes. Like 8 minutes. Denzel Aberdeen played 7. Why Denzel Aberdeen wasn't playing, or why Urban Klavzar wasn't playing when Walter Clayton Jr. was not shooting well, when Elijah Martin was a relative non-factor on offense, I don't know why you'd be so hesitant to bring in another guard. Denzel Aberdeen can come in, play defense. Like, steals were what Florida was trying to do to generate an offense, and it was working. Bring in Denzel Aberdeen. He can get steals. Urban Klavzar can get steals. Like, there were multiple times where I feel like Florida could have made certain adjustments and they didn't, and it drove me crazy. And again, this is not a thing where it's like, oh, depending on who they play, if they play a physical team, if they play a team that could shoot, if they play a team that could do this, that's who's going to give them a hard time. This is a team that talent-wise is one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team, right? Like, they're just incredible. The way they're built to play, the way that they play just stylistically is incredible, right? Like they're built to play analytically, and they go play analytically. But when they have off nights, that is when they get beat. It's not about other teams being more physical. It's not about other teams shooting better. Like, this is a team where if they play the way they're supposed to play, just in terms of if they operate the way they're supposed to operate, they are built to win 9 times out of 10. But they just have those games that they go ghost like this, like the 44-point game against Tennessee. Obviously, 83 is way different, but similar to that effect where it's like, okay, well, people aren't showing up. Like, Will Richard had an incredible night. Again, incredible night. 30 points on 17 shot attempts, 11 makes. Incredible night. The big difference at the Tennessee game was also that he didn't have that kind of night. And that was a big deciding factor. Like, he didn't have that kind of night. Walter Clayton didn't have a good night against Tennessee. Here, Walter Clayton didn't have a good night. L. I don't know why that's the first message I chose to read from the chat, but sure. But this was just an uncharacteristic performance. And I know that we had one of the insiders go, oh, well, I'd rather this happen now than in March. This seemingly happens once every 2 or 3 weeks in this SEC schedule, I guess we'll say, since conference play opened. That means that you've got to try to figure out, you've got to try to string together the next 5 weeks of good basketball. And the fact that this happens every couple weeks, worrisome, right? Worrisome. Daniel Stallmaker said, thanks for giving Auburn the championship. We gave Auburn that L, and you're an absolute loser, Daniel. All of Auburn. Losers. Love it. Hate you. We'll be back to talk about the chat, or talk to the chat, for the rest of this episode when we get back with Locked On Gators. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. So you can look for Will Richard to hit 5 threes or whatever. I think it was 5 on 11. You could look for Walter Clayton points, rebounds, assists, whatever you want to look at. Walt's assist line's usually at 3.5, 4.5. Like he's usually in that range. So pretty decent line there. You could look for Cooper Flagg. Duke's going to be great. You could look for anybody on Auburn. They're like 27 years old playing against college age kids. So they're up there as well. They should be having productive games. Download the app today. Use code Locked On College to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On College for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. Daniel Stallnaker said, losers, but the real winners. You're actually an actual loser, like in real life, not even the Auburn, Florida stuff. Like in real life, you're a loser. We're going to go with that one. So we're going to get to the chat here. Mudkip, I really thought another one of these games wouldn't happen. They're going to happen. Like I'm telling you now, this probably wasn't the last time they're going to have a game like that this season. The next time they have a game like that this season will probably be the way that they get eliminated from the SEC championship or the SEC tournament. That's probably what's going to happen. They're going to play a game like this at some point in the SEC tournament. They're still going to make the NCAA tournament, but this is probably going to be the type of performance that gets them bounced because they do this every couple weeks. Every couple weeks they have a game like that. They allow 50 in the first half, and they play great in the second half, but it's not enough to overcome the absolute piss poor performance in the first half. It happens. Getting jammed on that screen and letting arguably their best shooter wide open, and then we can't knock that an open three at the end. We were just chucking them up. The slow first halves for Florida is the only reason that we have 4 losses. An embarrassing punch in the mouth. Embarrassing. Just embarrassing. Mark Lawrence said effing free throws. Really? Yep. Free throws are, if you've been here for the just all the 2 or 3 seasons that we've been going live after games, you would know that missing free throws is going to take years off my life. I can't stand missed free throws. Not in the sense of like, oh, they're free, make them, but like it just drives me nuts. It's one of the few things you can work on a lot when you're alone. I know game is different from practice, but like, come on, dude. Free throws kill me. Hopefully the wake-up call, no more losses the rest of the season and end as a champ. Hopefully, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see that one. Rough one. Will Richard deserves so much credit for balling out, even though he absolutely does, right? Florida Gators basketball having a good free throw percentage challenge impossible. Yeah, I do hope we use this loss as a fuel to a great weekend game against A&M. Hopefully the refs aren't why we lost, but oh my God, all the whistles made it impossible for us to play at the pace we like. Yeah, again, like I'm not going to blame the refs for games. I don't blame the refs for games. I always say, play well enough where the refs don't matter, right? Even if the refs are horrible. I hate refs in every sport. In every sport, I call them awful, terrible. I think they're atrocious. I think this was one of the worst performances we've ever seen from an officiating crew. Just in terms of all the things that they also had to go back and like reverse and review, and it was just nuts. So I think it was bad officiating performance, but again, play better and that doesn't matter. Like it's not like Georgia shot 56% from 3 because of the officiating. Georgia didn't shoot 54% from the field because of the officiating. They shot there because you didn't play good defense. That's it. And then offense, like you didn't shoot 11 for 32 from 3 because of the officiating. You didn't shoot 62% from the free throw line because of the officiating. You shot that because you shot that. Fouls, sure, go ahead. Call it for the fouls. I don't care. But the percentages of how you shot and how you allowed Georgia to shoot is not because of the officiating. It's because you didn't play well enough. Plain and simple. That's really what it is. So it's crazy like that. Daniel Stallmaker said, how many snakes do you own? The exact number that your mother loves. That's how many snakes I own. That's where we're at. That's how many snakes I own. Q said, out of all unranked teams, why Georgia should not have been down that far and should not have lost to Georgia. Start slow, then play catch up. Yep. In March Madness, we can't start like that. Look, if you start like that, you're losing, right? Like it's just against a tournament team, you're not winning a game where you're down 26. Like you're gonna lose that game. There's no other way around it. all about free throws. That's the thing. Like it's not all about free throws though, right? Because even if you shot Georgia's percentage from the free throw line, you're still losing by 1, maybe tied. You can't let a team shoot 55.8%, 55.6% from 3. You can't let them do that and then give them as many open looks around the rim as they had. Like you can't do things like that, because that is going to be the reason that you get bounced early. Like that's it. Take millions of threes, but can't hit a damn free throw. Wonder what this loss means for the SEC tourney. Yeah, it's a nuts one. I'm just scrolling through here the live chat of just this game that was the bane of my existence. It was absolutely brutal. And again, it's not like it's about playing a really physical team or a great defensive team or a team that can shoot really well, because teams have I feel like pretty consistently shot pretty well against Florida for much of this season. And a big reason for that is strictly Florida, or at least they've had a couple of guys they go off, right? And that happens because Florida doesn't play good enough defense on them. Silas Damery Jr. he shot 4 for 6 from 3. Like he was the guy, he had almost half their threes because they only made 10 and he made 4 of them. So had almost half their threes. It's crazy that like you could just play games the way that they play them sometimes. And it's just Jekyll and Hyde. This basketball team is just Jekyll and Hyde. That's the only way to look at it. What do you think the NCAA tournament looks like for us? I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I got money on them making the Final Four. I got money on them winning the championship, and I've had that since before the season started. So I'd be very happy if it happened. But yeah, I don't get, one of my biggest issues there is the substitutions. Just didn't make sense to me. Like looking at just the minutes, they just don't make, like Chinyelu had 14 minutes because he was in foul trouble. That's fine. Condon had 20 minutes because he left the game for a little bit and is just coming back from an ankle injury. And Nogton had 12 minutes. Thomas Huck had 32 minutes. Elijah Martin had 32 minutes. Will Richard had 34 minutes. And that makes sense because he was the only guy doing anything for much of the game. Walter Clayton Jr. had 37 minutes. But like why Urban Klavzar had 8 minutes and Denzel Aberdeen had 7 minutes is beyond me. I just don't understand that one at all. It just doesn't make sense to me there. But they're going to play how they're going to play, right? With how flaky we were last year, I'm scared of another first-round exit. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Me too. Absolutely. You can actually see when they decide to turn it on. Never played good in the first half. I don't know why someone just put Hawk Tua in there, but you're a weird dude. I'll take another loss or two in the regular season or SEC tournament and play for a national championship. I mean, yeah, everybody would take that. But realistically, this is a team that they're going to have their games where they just don't show up. Like, and that's the thing, that you got to just accept that with this team. Like I'm trying to be as realistic and always try to be as realistic as possible with all of you. You have to accept that this is a team that is probably going to disappoint you at least once more this season. Like, I don't think that they're going to lose many games where they're playing great, because they lose games when they play poorly. Like that's it. They don't show up for their first half. Then you lose. This is the thing where, again, it's not about physicality. It's not about out shooting Florida. It's not about that. It's just when they have off nights, they're going to lose. And when they have off nights, they're really off nights. They're probably going to do it again at some point this season. It's just the truth. I'm trying to mentally brace you for this and emotionally brace you for this, because at some point, again, they're going to break your heart. It is what it is. They are who they are. Like when someone tells you who they are and someone shows you who they are consistently, that's who they are. And this is a team that most of the time is going to look really good. A lot of times is going to look like the best team in the country, but other times they're going to look horrible. And that's just something that you're going to have to live with there. It's all good. You won your Super Bowl at Auburn. Whose Super Bowl is Auburn? What? Crackhead? What is that? What's up, Duval? Q. Slow start to hurt you, Duval. Is it worse to lose to Georgia or Mike White? Mike White. Shouldn't have been down that big to a mediocre team and let them hit shots. Yeah, like you can't leave them open. They shot 70% the first half. You can't leave them open like that. Todd needs to make them shoot free throws before and after every game. That money's gone. Gave it to your mom. Is anybody still complaining about being dropped from 2 to 3? Just lost to a team that was 4-10 in the SEC. I didn't complain about being 2 to 3 regardless. So, because as long as we're a high seed, that's kind of what we're at for now. There we go. Now get in the Locked On Auburn Discord like a good boy. I would, but you guys piss yourself and cry every time I say anything in there. Just gonna say that every time. It's a hypothetical that ain't realistic. Teams go into the tournament and one prevails. Undefeated doesn't have to be perfect leading up to the tournament. I don't know what that means. What's up with Google? I tried to look up the score of the game. It still says Georgia and Florida play it today at 6, but with no score. I don't have to tell you. No, Daniel. I'm doing better. Auburn, Aaron team that never won a championship in basketball? Neither. I forgot that we had a national championship team go undefeated where they haven't had the up and down roller coaster effect throughout the regular season. This is my new favorite show. That's good. It's your mom's favorite show too. Love that one. Love that. Tell her I said hi. We're going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Gators. Hey, look, sometimes Tuesdays are for feeling, right? Usually it's Saturdays during football season. Sometimes it's Tuesdays that are for feeling. So thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. Hopefully, next time we go live after a game will be after a win. Hopefully. But we will be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators and Brandon Olsen, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with New York Giants on SI, and I'll see you all next time.